The art of the Sunday morning interview reached a new dark low yesterday. Nothing has damaged the genre more than the Donald Trump Sunday morning interview. Donald Trump just desecrated that Sunday morning TV liturgy when he turned to politics. Donald Trump knows that the most important thing on commercial television is, of course, the commercial.
Donald Trump's relationship with the media just hit a new low, even for him. CNN reportedly interviewed Trump over text messages. Yes, text messages. And now, the entire credibility of that so-called interview is in question. And just when you think it couldn't get worse, his old friend Ghislaine Maxwell reappears in the headlines. Let's break it down.
CNN presented a so-called interview with CNN that they can't even prove was Donald Trump. They called it breaking news. They called it, quote, an exclusive new interview with President Trump. That's what they called it. Before the interviewer said this.
The president answered my questions on text about his hopes for this nascent deal.
What? You gave him the questions in writing? So now, instead of letting Trump hide in a phone call where we can at least know that it's him talking, Donald Trump gets to hide behind the black screen of texting? We actually have no idea who texted the replies in that so-called interview.
Lawrence O'Donnell didn't hold back, and honestly, he's right. Trump has spent years gaming the media, turning interviews into performance art. But this time, he didn't even show up. CNN literally sent him questions, and someone, maybe him, maybe not, texted the answers.
CNN is unable to prove that Donald Trump was actually doing that texting. CNN has not revealed how long it took to get a reply to each of the 5 written questions that apparently got replies from someone who texted those replies, or someone who told Donald Trump what to text in those replies, or maybe it was from Donald Trump. The first question was, what happens if Hamas insists on staying in power in Gaza, to which the text reply, and we don't know how long this took, was, and we don't know who did it, the text reply says, complete obliteration. The final, slow pitch softball question was, how do you think the government shutdown is going to end? That question got the empty answer it deserved. Someone texted this reply as an answer to that question of how the shutdown is going to end. Good, we are winning and cutting costs, big time, exclamation point. The interviewer then said, I asked a few other questions on text, still waiting for a response on those, Mr. President. Okay, what were those questions? Exactly which questions did Donald Trump refuse to answer? What could be more relevant in reporting an exchange that is supposed to be with the President of the United States than including the questions he refused to answer?
So, CNN can't even prove if Trump wrote those replies himself. Think about that. The former President of the United States giving written answers by text like it's a customer support chat. It's beyond parody. It's dangerous.
We have no idea. Any questions about Jeffrey Epstein or his sex trafficking friend, Ghislaine Maxwell? Any questions about Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell? We don't know. We have no idea. We have no idea what the other questions were that Donald Trump refused to answer, or whoever was on the other end of that phone refused to answer. When the history of Donald Trump's mental decline is written, it will no doubt include that so-called interview yesterday as a turning point in Donald Trump's White House dealing with the challenge of Donald Trump trying to answer questions during this period of obvious mental decline for Donald Trump. Donald Trump was allowed to become, by CNN, the first president in history to get questions in writing for an interview. Questions that he could take home, as it were, since he was at home. Questions from a reporter. And then Donald Trump was allowed to take, we don't know how much time to reply to those questions. We do know CNN is still waiting for some of them. Something this particular interviewer would be outraged about.
And this is where Lawrence drops the hammer. He asks the question no one else dares. What if Joe Biden did this? The press would have exploded. But Trump, he gets a free pass again.
If Joe Biden had ever done that, or someone pretending to be Joe Biden had done that, this particular interviewer wrote an entire book condemning Joe Biden because he didn't like the way Joe Biden answered questions. He thought Joe Biden wasn't up to the job of answering questions as a presidential candidate, particularly in the presidential debate. But in fact, every one of the answers that Joe Biden did give in that presidential debate in content was better than every answer given by Donald Trump, all of which were insane. But this same interviewer apparently thinks Donald Trump is capable of answering such questions. This same interviewer has never doubted that. If Joe Biden had ever given the answer, quote, complete obliteration, end quote, to what happens next in Gaza or anywhere else in the world, that same interviewer would have pointed to it correctly, I think, as proof of mental incapacity to do the job of president. But Donald Trump, or the person playing Donald Trump in that text game yesterday, took the time to carefully type out complete obliteration. It wasn't a quick and ill-considered reply. It was a carefully typed and written reply, a written reply.
This isn't just media negligence. It's part of a pattern. Trump's answers show a disturbing decline. The phrase complete obliteration wasn't just reckless, it was meaningless, typed out by a man or machine incapable of real thought.
Anything Donald Trump says in response to a what-if question is always meaningless. And so the insane and reckless and inhuman phrase complete obliteration is also actually meaningless because Donald Trump said it, or the person playing Donald Trump in that text game typed it.
And just when the chaos hits its peak, Lawrence shifts to something even darker. Trump's longtime associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, just lost her Supreme Court appeal, and Trump's reaction? Beyond comprehension.
Donald Trump's old friend, convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell, did not get the Trump treatment in the United States Supreme Court. Today, Ghislaine Maxwell got what over 90% of litigants that go to the Supreme Court get. Nothing. Not even a hearing. Not even a sentence. The name of her appeals case, Maxwell versus the United States, appeared in a list of 900 other cases that the Supreme Court refused to hear today. That is what happens to most people who try to bring their case to the Supreme Court. They don't get in the door. And so Ghislaine Maxwell has only one hope left of getting out of prison, her old friend Donald Trump. And today, CNN's White House correspondent Caitlin Collins asked the best question of the day, which revealed that Donald Trump will consider pardoning his old friend, the sex trafficker.
When asked if he'd consider pardoning Maxwell, a convicted sex trafficker, Trump actually said, "I'll take a look at it." No outrage, no condemnation. Just the same vague, rambling nonsense.
I haven't heard the name in so long. I can say this, that I'd have to take a look at it. I would have to take a look. Did they reject that?
She wanted to appeal her conviction.
And what happened?
They said that they were not going to hear her appeal.
I see. Well, I'll take a look at it. I will speak to the DOJ. I wouldn't consider it or not consider it. I don't know anything about it. So, but I'll speak. I will speak to the DOJ.
Why would she be a candidate for clemency, sir?
I don't know. I mean, I'd have to speak to the DOJ. I'll look at it. I have a lot of people who have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy has asked me for a pardon.
But she was convicted of child sex trafficking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to take a look at it. I have to ask DOJ. I didn't know they rejected it. I didn't know she was even asking for it, frankly.
I wouldn't consider it or not consider it. That's the kind of gibberish that comes out of his mouth all the time. That's impossible. You have to do one or the other. You have to consider it or not consider it. You can't do both.
Lawrence O'Donnell calls it exactly what it is: gibberish. Trump can't decide whether he's considering a pardon or not. And remember, this is the same Maxwell who helped Epstein abuse minors for years. The victims are still living that nightmare.
The evidence at trial established that Ms. Maxwell directly and repeatedly and over the course of many years participated in a horrific scheme to entice, transport, and traffic underage girls, some as young as 14, for sexual abuse by and with Jeffrey Epstein. I will pause on those words for a moment. By and with Epstein. It is important at the outset to emphasize that although Epstein was, of course, central to this criminal scheme, Ms. Maxwell is not being punished in place of Epstein or as a proxy for Epstein. Like every other participant in a multi-defendant case, Ms. Maxwell is being punished for the role that she played in the criminal conduct. As to that role, the trial evidence established that Ms. Maxwell was instrumental in the abuse of several underage girls and that she herself participated in some of the abuse, and it is her conduct for which she has been convicted in the court under the laws of this country, and it is her conduct for which she must be held accountable.
This is the rot that sits at the center of Trump's orbit: corruption, denial, and decay. Lawrence O'Donnell didn't just expose Trump's fake interview. He exposed a system that keeps lowering the bar for him. One text message, one pardon hint, one excuse at a time.
The deviancy of Donald Trump only moves in one direction: down. People working for Donald Trump choose to go down with him. But apparently, they're not the only ones.